We, the people of the state of Jefferson, ever mindful of the rights we hold most dear, life, liberty, and property, are compelled to establish this, our new state, for the preservation of these natural, inalienable rights. Our mandate for the protection of life, liberty, and property gives urgent voice to our demand for representation that reflects our needs, our history, our culture, and our moral impervitude. Time has come for 51. This is Terry Rapoza.
And Win Carpenter. You're listening to Jefferson State of Mind podcast.
How are you out there in podcast land? I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're going to have a Merry Christmas. This is Terry Rapoza here with Win Carpenter and Jeremy Edwardson, and we're here with Jefferson State of Mind. We're excited about these programs that we have coming up. The program you're listening to now did air today, Monday, the 20th of December at 6 p.m. Anyway, we're here with Jeremy Edwardson, who is the producer of Red, White, and Blueprint, among other things. And how are you, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be here.
And Win, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm good, I think. No one's hurt me yet. Don't say it's early.
I was going to say, day's not over.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got some interesting things we want to talk about. We want to really hit some things locally. We're going to talk to Jeremy about some things that he has discovered and some of the great research he's done on where county money goes. What happens to your money? What happens to the CARES money? What happens to the money that we receive back from the government, from the state, the federal government, that goes to your county, and how's it spent? And Jeremy, just give us a little background on what you found out as far as, well, let's start with that $34 million that our county, Shasta County, is to receive if we play the game with the state.
Yeah, so that's the part of the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act. Biden last year passed a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan fund, basically, and that money then gets divided amongst the states and trickles down to the counties based on population. And what I found in looking at the agreement for the recipient of the funds, which includes state, counties, or even businesses that accept those funds, there's a particular string attached, and the reality is all money coming from the state and the feds have strings attached, but this is a different kind of strings attached, in my opinion, and I'll get into that. But it's what I read in the agreement is the recipient of these funds, which in our case, in our county, it's 34 million, 17 million of which we've already taken in but haven't spent last May 2021, and then the next 17 million will most likely come May of 2022. So it said in the agreement, the recipient of these funds must follow all state and federal mandates that are going to be coming from here until December 31st, 2026.
Wow.
So that's the way I read it. I brought it to the attention of some of the board. It was brought up in a meeting because it caught the supervisor's eye as far as like, is this real? That was actually Les Baugh. He brought it up probably about a month ago to the lawyer in a public meeting. This is how I'm reading it. Is that how you're reading it too? And the lawyer said, let me get back to you on that. And that's, for me, a good indicator that this isn't standard strings attached kind of language. Mm-hmm. It's not the kind of language you'd read in the $313 million we got for this year with our Health and Human Services from the state and the feds. So this is a little bit different, the way it's worded. And, if you think about it, December 31st, 2026, that's actually the full next term of any of the gubernatorial election candidates in the county. So it's basically hamstringing any county elected officials. And I think California knows right now, with the recall that we have going and also dozens of other counties that are in the middle of it, this is a good way to, if they turn over their board and these new counties are able to count to three, like I believe we're going to be able to do next year, they're going to be hamstrung in their budget. Because if they decide, hey, this next, in 6, 8, 12 months from now, Newsom hands down some, mandate that finally our county's like, whoa, you've gone too far, like as if he hasn't already. But, what's coming next? We don't know. And then the state could then say, well, you don't like it? Okay, well, you owe us that $34 million back.
We have a clip that we have where you were speaking at the Board of Supervisors in Shasta County in your 3-minute public comment. And I want to play that, and I want some of your comments on it, but it reflects exactly what you just talked about. So can you put that up there, Eli? Thanks.
Go ahead, sir. I believe Supervisor Bob brought this up a few weeks ago, but I think did we find out if there were strings attached to the ARPA funds coming in?
Good morning. There are strings attached, and I believe Supervisor Baugh, kind of clarified that a little bit. I don't have that language in front of me, but yeah, there's certain disclaimers there. And anytime that we take in state and federal dollars, they usually have disclaimers there on not only how to use the funds, but the types of restrictions that are placed on that funding.
Okay. The language I heard was, and I think this would be really important for the community to get clarification on it at the January meeting, but the language I heard was, or that I read was that if we take in this money, we're subject to an audit up until 2025. And if we don't follow all mandates that are coming down from the state and federal level, then we owe all that money back. And it was pretty clear how it was written. So the issue I have is that if we accept that, we don't know what mandates are coming next. It seems like at this point, Newsom's kind of shooting at the hip with all the mandates. And if we have new Board of Supervisors in the coming years that are going to actually push back on some of these mandates, all of a sudden we might be owing the state of California and the federal government $34 million, which we might not have in the budget at that point. So it might be a better move just to say we're not going to take it. So
you're seriously suggesting that we should not take $34 million that this county desperately needs?
I'm suggesting that if we...
I just want to make sure that's what I heard you say.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
thanks.
Well,
thank you. Do I have any other speakers in-house?
I'm going to respond.
No, I didn't ask for a response.
I still have a minute left.
Okay, you can take a minute. Go ahead.
At this point, without knowing what mandates are going to be coming between now and 2025, I think it would be really unwise to accept money and say, we'll do whatever you say for that amount of money. And I think that the citizens in Shasta County would be important for all of them to know that we are being held hostage to whatever they have to say for $34 million. That's the point I'm making.
And just to add to that point, the reason why we're elected officials is every 4 years, the community can step up and decide whether they agree or disagree with what we have done. That is how the process is designed. So there is a level of accountability built in by the founding fathers.
Unless there's a recall.
Yeah, unless there is a recall, which you guys deserve. Anyway,
that's the only exception there.
That was quite a situation there. I noticed that Supervisor Modi didn't want a response or ask you for a response, but you still had a minute left.
Still had a minute. That was very,
that was very
well
clever.
played. Well played.
Anyway, on that money, you mentioned that there was $17 million that we have. We have not spent that yet. Is that the information you're getting?
Yeah, I just got to say too, like he was kind of a jerk to me, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
That's
pretty
who he is.
Unbelievable, and I feel like I was being very cordial and
Very.
You're polite.
informative, to bring that up. But anyway, side note.
Respectful.
So, yeah, I try to be respectful. I don't go in there and berate anybody on the board. I've never done that. It's not my style. I don't actually really like that, to be honest. But I know some people feel like some people come in pretty heated, and I totally understand that. But for me, I'm always like, let's just talk about the facts. And I feel like if counties did that more, boards of supervisors were just pretty open and honest. Like even with this kind of thing, like I'd get ahead of it. I would just say, hey, look, we've been offered this ARPA money, comes with these strings attached, and explain why they would or why they wouldn't take it. I don't think they should, but maybe there is an immediate need for cash, and then there's a savings in case they have to come against a mandate and pay it back. I don't, there's so many different, as a business owner,
Right.
We've elected these people to run our county, and I expect them to just be really transparent. If I hired somebody to run my business while I took a hiatus, I'd want to know every detail, that, especially things that were a little bit uncomfortable or awkward. I want to know what's going on. But anyway, the $17 million that they've taken in, the CEO Matt Pontes,
Yes.
in the last meeting, he said that money's in an account. It's not been spent yet. It's not been allocated as to how they're going to spend it yet. That's going to come in a January meeting. They're going to discuss the spending of the ARPA funds. They get the second installment May of 2022, and so apparently that meeting, in January, we'll kind of gonna go over how they're gonna allocate that. So
And then that money would be tied up. And then one other thing I noticed too.
Real quick,
yeah.
on that money coming in. So if the county foregoes it and gives it back to the state puts it in its general fund, and then it disappears, right? So if they count on 58 counties, of the 58 counties, maybe 25 do that. How many billions of dollars is that going to generate to be that goes into the general fund that Governor Newsom and his cronies can just reach in and grab and line their own pockets or whatever with? So that could be done by design, knowing that some of these counties, like our county, may be forced by the constituency to not take that money. It's going to go back to the state. We have nothing to do with it. The state has to deal with it. It's in the general fund. And then guess what? They're having access to it to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the way that our government is set up right now. I believe we're working within a broken system.
Absolutely.
And these are conversations I've had with people that work at the county. I call it a broken system because no one would ever run a business like this.
Right.
You're trying to run a county, and the state started taking in state taxes in the early 20th century. And it was supposed to be a wartime tax. It never fell off after the war, and it's just risen until here we are today. And so now they take in all this money and they say, we're going to distribute it back based on population in order to take care of health, the health of the people, and also infrastructure, school education, all these different things. But they now are kind of holding those funds in a way to make the counties comply to their demands. And that's where it gets really weird. And even the way that when they talk about, I believe the next commercial that Modi will make, or whoever's funding these commercials against the recall, it'll probably have something to do with, don't believe the lies. All money has strings attached to it. And we have to understand that the strings attached to the ARPA funds are different. When they're talking about strings attached to the money, like for instance, the $313 million we get this year for Health and Human Services, those strings really are allocations to how the money's going to be spent. The state of California says this percentage of money must be spent on social services. This amount of money must be spent on, this department with Health and Human Services. So there are stipulations. That's part of the broken system. I think counties should be able to decide within Health and Human Services where the money really needs to go.
Well, yeah, and also when you talk about the money, what you're talking about is basically mandatory spending. And you're right. On the average, in all the counties in California, it's about 87% of the money of our taxpayer money is mandated on where it goes by the state. Also, I noticed that when you were speaking to the board, Matt Pontes was the one who was answering your questions. And normally there was a position with many of the supervisor boards in the state to where whenever you direct a question, it has to go to the Board of Supervisors. It was interesting how Matt did answer that. Matt Pontes did answer that. That was one thing I wanted you to comment. But the other thing that I find interesting is when Modi had had said to you, "Are you seriously saying that we don't want $34 million in a county that desperately needs it?" And then, I believe it was the same agenda, they voted on raises across the board, including 991 workers, 991 in Health and Human Services. So I'd like to hear your comments on those things.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to the desperation. Our county desperately needs this money, and then the very next move is voting on really significantly massive raises to all the department heads and upper management, I believe.
How's that going to impact the unfunded liability that's hovering around $1 billion right now? You know, that's huge. There's no way we can pay it back.
And you create more with the raises.
And you create
because you have to
more.
create more jobs.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if most people know this by now, I believe, because they have friends or family or somebody that works in government. Mm-hmm. If you work for the government, when you retire, you take, I think it's about 90%
yes.
of your highest year.
Yes.
Well, it depends on the positions. Yeah.
But in most cases, I know law enforcement's that way. I know that the fire department's that way. You would know more about the county, different areas in the county. I think some of them are that way.
Department heads.
Department heads
Yeah,
are
definitely
that
department
way.
heads, yes.
So these raises go to all these department heads. Now, when they retire, whether it be next year or in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and these raises keep going up incrementally, and now they retire, and then the county then has to pay for their pension and their benefits for the rest of their life. Yeah, the people.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a $1 billion. It's close to $1 billion CalPERS debt, and we have to get that under control. Our county, I heard it's going to take about $30 million a year if we start paying it right now in order to keep up with it. At some point, your county has to declare bankruptcy. So what they're doing right now is they're getting in all these ARPA funds. They're saying we desperately need it. They're giving massive raises, and then it feels to me like they're jacking up everyone's salaries, knowing that at some point things are gonna crash.
Yep.
But at that point, they're living in Montana or wherever, and someone else is gonna have to clean up this mess. And that's part what when we talk about fiscal responsibility or mismanagement on the county's part. There's a lot of people waking up to this and saying, hey, we want to live here. We're going to be the ones, or our kids are going to be the ones to clean up this mess. So let's get it under control right now.
And that's almost criminal to do that. So how do you get that under control with the Board of Supervisors, who are the executive and legislative body of the county? You have to get them under control. So do you arrest them for something as criminal as that? I mean, you don't want to take somebody to court over and over and over again, because we all know that's a loser. But is there law being broken by their actions, doing something to that level?
I think it comes back to being aware of the problem and electing the right people.
Exactly, getting them out. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and we haven't been aware for a long time. That's the reason I got into this. That's the reason I'm making a documentary.
Right.
Red, White, and Blueprint. I realized last year that I'd been focusing my whole life, if I ever thought about politics, on the presidency.
Yeah.
I never really thought about what's going on here in the county. I never knew that our budget, when I first got involved, it was $570 million a year. I thought, wow, where's all that money going? And then, and then very quickly it was $600 million a year. And so for me, I love the fact that people in Shasta County are waking up to what's going on in a way that I've never seen. I was born at Mercy Hospital. I've born and raised in Redding, California. I've never seen this in my entire life. And there's people that would never run for a political position in our government body here that are rising up and saying, I want to run for that Board of Supervisors seat, or I want to run for that DA position. I want to run for the county superintendent of schools. I mean, we're seeing this right now. People are coming out in droves. A lot of these elected officials go unopposed.
Right.
Not anymore. Not in Shasta County, because people are going, you know what? I never in a million years would ever want this job, but now I can't not run for it. I have to take that job, because if I don't, who else is going to? And if it's the person who's been doing it, we're seeing so many problems with that we have to step up.
Well, and two, the board clearly is being controlled by one.
Yes.
We can tell by all the actions that happen, all the verbiage that and dialogue that's engaged in the board meetings. You can tell who the puppet master is. Now, the puppet master is also being run by community members that are also existential puppet masters as well. So you have all this going on in our community, and the exposure of it has been great. I mean, with what you guys are doing with Red, White, and Blueprint, and with the other programs that we have, just getting the word out there, people are starting to, like you said, ask questions like, well, what about this? What about that? And people are thinking outside the box. You have to think outside of the box. You cannot be in the box anymore. You have to think outside the box, ask the questions, which lead to other questions, which unearths all these things that are going on. And we're all going, holy cow, and it's true. All this stuff is happening, and that's the stuff that we find out. What about the stuff we don't know about yet? That scares me to death on what's going on here locally, the stuff we haven't yet found out.
Yeah.
And one point you really made that I thought was important, and that is the system's actually broken. I think that's a really good point. And you talked about, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on the fact when you were saying, if this was a business,
right,
how could you possibly run it this way? I mean, how do you, in your right mind, run it this way? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the ARPA funds, I made an analogy last week that as the constituents, we're actually the bosses of this county. If you look at the org chart, we're at the very top. We elect our county's finest to run the government body of the county. Is that the way you'd say it? Now,
Close enough.
So we expect these people to do an awesome job. Now, put in the context, I'm a business owner. If you're a business owner out there, just think of it like this. You decide you're going to go out of town for a couple of years, and you look at your employees and you say, this guy's the guy for the job. Hey, I need you to run the business for a few years. I'm going to peace out. Come back a few years later. How's everything going? It's going really amazing. We just got this huge amount of money from the mafia. And it's incredible. And that's so weird. Why did they give us some money? I don't know. They gave it to us. They said they want to help our business out. Well, what's the catch? There's no catch. It's just free money. They just said that for the next 4 years, we have to do exactly what they tell us to do.
That's the catch.
I'd look at my employee and be like, why would we ever do that? What did you do with the money? Well, I gave everybody raises. That's right. At that point, okay, you're fired. Everybody else is coming back down. We have to get this under control. And the thing about the county too is when I say I'm not excited about all the raises happening, I'm talking about the upper management, the department heads. If you go to what's the website? It's California.
Transparent California.
Yeah. TransparentCalifornia.com. It's very simple. You look up Shasta County, and it shows, and that the amount of people making over $200,000 at the county is insane.
Unreal. Yeah.
There are a lot of line staff, boots on the ground, the one that actually, the backbone of the county, and in many cases, they aren't getting paid enough.
Right.
And I think there's, I know there are redundant upper management positions too. Mm-hmm. Again, it comes back to this weird broken system.
Many.
And, sometimes the broken system is the union. You have all these line staff that are protected, and if somebody's doing a really crappy job, it's hard to let them go. If someone's doing a great job, they're not going to stick around forever, so you got to promote them. And you do that for 30 years, you're going to have a lot of upper management redundant positions, and then you're going to have a line staff that, in a lot of cases is really good. I mean, but not being paid enough, kind of disgruntled, want to move up. And if you're a rock star on the line staff, you're going to move up at some point, but it's just going to turn into this big, giant, bloated top, and that's where we're at. So,
and a lot of times when they give raises to the lower echelon, so to speak, the upper management gets raises also.
Yeah, because you got to have that discrepancy.
You have to have that discrepancy.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're going to get a raise anyway. And talking about the raises,
compaction.
Exactly.
I like to talk about compaction a lot.
Yeah,
we're giving a 25-cent raise to the line staff, so we need to give a 10% raise to all the upper management. Otherwise, we're going to have compaction issues.
Give you compassion.
So true. And when you think about Karen Ransome, for example, who's the head of Health and Human Services, when you look at her, she's up to about $22,000 a month now, and she just got another raise. Some of the raises, by the way, were up to about 25%. And we'll get into that in our second half hour, some of the things that happened and some of the new information we have.
That doesn't happen in the real world.
No, it doesn't
I
happen
mean,
in
in
the
your
real
business, you don't give raises at 25%, do you?
Not only do I not do that, but the problem is that our county is very, very rich right now. And when I say rich, I'm talking about the county government. I'm talking about the Zog Fire settlement. I'm talking about the ARPA funds. I'm talking about the CARES funds. There's so much money coming into the county. And if you go talk to county officials and they're actually being honest and you're having a private conversation and you can and they can trust you can trust them, they'll tell you it's crazy right now. The amount of money coming into this county is insane. That's why we were able to jump from 570 to 600. That's why we're able to give everybody in upper management raises last year, this year, and they're doing it right in front of us. And some of us are kicking back saying, "What are you doing?" Because at the end of the day, Zog Fire settlement's done.
Yeah, it goes away.
ARPA funds are done.
Yep.
CARES funds are done. We're not living within our means. All this money came in and the county's going crazy with it. Well, what happens next year when all that money's not there and the year after that?
Yep.
We still have all these really high paid positions. They aren't coming back down.
Right.
And new positions that we've probably filled, they aren't going away.
Is that why we desperately need the money?
Yeah.
We have so much money right now, we need to spend it. And
Exactly.
we need to make government way bigger here in Chester County. It's so important.
Yeah.
Don't you get that?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
gosh.
I know that, and to your point, we had a sheriff, Sheriff McGreeny, who was the second sheriff of
one term.
And now we're on our third sheriff of one term, which you set a record, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We have the record. We've got some other records too we'll talk about here soon. But
Leave it to Shasta
we have a
County.
situation like that, exactly what you're saying. He got a 36% raise from being sheriff to being the assistant CEO of the county. Now, he gets a 36% raise after resigning because the sheriff deputies and the upper management in the sheriff's department he works with gave him a vote of no confidence. And again, to your point, he is one of those people that will get 90% of his best year. So, again, we have these loaded retirements. We have these padded retirements. We have this money that's going to people that again, may go off to Wyoming, or maybe they go to Idaho.
Yep.
Like some of them have bought property.
Yep.
So, I mean, to your point, I think that we have to start standing. What is something that you would say to people in Shasta County, frankly, in all the counties, Jeremy, of what they need to do to get involved with their local government?
I'd say one of the biggest things is start to form groups. Don't operate alone, especially if you're like a internet sleuth. If you're digging up stuff, counties, especially in the state of California, the counties do a really good job of hiding things from their constituents. They don't like what's going on right now in Shasta County. When I say they, I mean the Board of Supervisors. They don't like operating exposed. They don't like it when somebody like me comes and says, "Is this what's happening?" Because they've never had to work with eyeballs on them. They've never had everybody looking. So if whatever county you're from, start connecting with like-minded people, start getting the word out there somehow, and put some skin in the game. I mean, sometimes it's as easy. This is not easy, but sometimes it is just putting some money in and doing like gathering some money and doing like a public service announcement on the radio.
Right.
I mean, let the people know. If you want change, sometimes you got to put some skin in the game. Get involved. Start forming groups so that you guys can move together in action. I mean, that's what we've done in Shasta County, and that's what I would encourage other people to do. Yeah, I mean...
And you never know what's going to come out of coming together like that, too. You're going to meet people that you would normally maybe not know. and you're going to everybody brings something to the table.
Yeah, I mean, did I know
Everybody
you guys? I mean, I knew you when I was a little kid, but I haven't seen you since probably in 35 years.
Yeah.
And when I didn't know you, I mean, I didn't really know you guys a year ago, and now we're good friends. So
Right.
I think that's part of it is meeting people. One thing we're going to do here in Shasta County too is in that same regards, citizens in the county, they're operating as a lot of individual silos. So you got Jeremy Edwardson, and I'm digging, and then Terry Rapoza and Win Carpenter, but the fact that we come together makes a big difference. We've seen that in our community. So we're going to start doing that with other counties.
Right.
And that's what I would like to see is on an actual supervisor level. I would like to see like-minded supervisors from other counties start coming together, like forming sort of a
County Committee of Correspondence.
yeah, like a committee of correspondence, county committee of correspondence, where when there is a new mandate or if there's a resolution or an ordinance that needs to be drafted, instead of everybody doing whatever they're going to do on their own, we hear 3 weeks after Tom Patty and his board passed a resolution, we hear 3 weeks later because we read about it in the news, and then we call Tom Patty, what are you guys doing down there?
Yep.
Oh, it's really great. We'd love for you to join with us. Well, what if we were a little bit ahead of that? What if our attorneys were working together on drafting some ordinances or resolutions? We're bringing those ideas together. What if we had 15 counties that all on the same Tuesday dropped an ordinance? I mean, that's
absolutely.
going to make
And
a
we can
splash.
do that. Article 11 of the California Constitution. In fact, we'll talk a little bit about that in our second half hour.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. We know different people in different counties that are board of supervisors, and so making that happen is just a phone call.
Duplicatable.
Yeah, and it's duplicatable. Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, we've had Jeremy Edwardson on here. Thank you, brother. You've been awesome.
Awesome.
It's good to
And-
be here.
Time has come.
For 51.
Let's get it done.
Amen.
Hey, CA, come out and play. Have you seen the bill we all have to pay? It's not our bill, we had no say. You don't serve us, you serve LA. The time has come for 51 in a Jefferson state of mind. You don't know us, you have no clue, and still you're telling us what to do. We don't know you or what you face. It's time to start a brand new state. The time has come for 51 in a Jefferson state of mind. Jefferson state of mind. Carve from lessons we all